In one of our previous string theory lessons, I mentioned that the chord progression to the old jazz standard Autumn Leaves is the same as that used by Carlos Santana in his classic early 70s instrumental, rock instrumental Europa, Earth's Cry, Heaven's Smile. And also that used by Gary Moore in his 1990 song, Still Got the Blues for You. That latter song was played in a kind of a 12/8 feel, you know, dun 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 ja, dun 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 ja. Now, coming off the heels of my last the little tribute I did, the two-part tribute to Michael Brecker, I got to thinking, what if Brecker took a solo over Europa with that same Santana's nice slow 4/4 groove, which allows a lot of room to subdivide the beat and you know, get rhythmically interesting and harmonically really get inside the chord changes. But what if he did it in Gary Moore's more guitar-friendly key of C major, actually A minor? Santana's is in C minor, or E flat major. So I came up with a little solo, which I'll show you in two parts because I couldn't fit it all on one page. It's played over in this 8-bar progression. I'm going to play part 1 now, and I'll show you part 2 later. And let me show you the chord changes real quick before we get to the solo. Okay, so it starts out in D minor 7, okay, for 1 measure, then G7, for 2 beats, G7 flat 9, C major 7, and then C7, which pushes you to F major 7. Okay, so we're walking through the cycle of fourths. And then B minor 7 flat 5, kind of a dramatic sounding chord, to E7 flat 9, which longs to resolve to A minor. 3, 4, and then A7, which wants to go somewhere else, right? It wants to go back to D minor 7. So played in this kind of slow R&B style groove, it would be something like this. 3, 4. Okay, you hear the nice voice leading. We have okay, very satisfying, and that provides a really nice vehicle to solo over. Okay, here's part 1 of the solo. I'll play it in tempo, play it over those changes. Okay, some theoretical points of interest here. I'm pretty much targeting non-root chord tones, because that's my thing, you know, we like make that nice counterpoint with the bass line. So I start out. Okay, I'm doing this little dance around D minor. I'm going up to the 3rd. You hear that with the bass note, D. It says D minor, and then nothing says D minor like hitting what's called the leading tone, the major 7th. Right, very classical sounding. So that's like your temporary tonic. Okay, and then I go to the minor 7th, C, which then takes me to B. See, I'm using voice leading. Remember when I showed you the chord changes, I went. So I'm really kind of going like that, you know, Michel progression, or Stairway to Heaven, right? Okay, that's the 3rd of G, the B. Okay, I'm walking up that G7 arpeggio, and then hitting the flat 9, remember from the chord? And then if you do this, the B flat note, that's G7 sharp 9, you know, the Hendrix chord. That creates some nice tension. That, by the way, is based upon, remember we learned the Superlocrian mode? So off a G, that would be. Using little ascending finger slides here and there. Again, I'm trying to think like a sax player, like what would Brecker do? Decorative hammer-on. That's to the third of C. Chromatic walk down. Now, see, I'm touching on the dominant seventh. Remember, the progression went C major 7, C7 to F major 7. That makes for a more compelling resolution to F major 7. And of course, I had to throw in the flat 9, right? C7 flat 9. That D flat, that's a flat 9. Again, resolving to the good old trusty third of F major 7, A. If I did the natural 9, that would sound nice. It would sound a little tamer if I went a little more vanilla. This sounds a little darker. And then a little, just using these upper and lower neighbor tones. Okay, I'm on that third of F, A. And I'm thinking F, C, there's your F triad. Using the scale tones above and below. And then that's actually a non-scale tone. It's a chromatic, it's called a chromatic lower neighbor. Okay, and then over B minor 7 flat 5. Okay, I'm kind of using the B minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio, which would be. But I'm also adding E, which is the fourth. There it is again. That's a nice tension tone to add to a minor 7 flat 5 chord. Here's B minor 7 flat 5. If you go, and then you go up to E7 flat 9, sharp 5. Nice, like a jazzy thing. Okay, a nice little kind of run up using a triplet rhythm. I'm doing the same thing I did over the G7 chord. Remember, I went. Right? You hear the way the harmony figures into it. But here I'm going. Here I'm going for the sharp 9 of E first. Then the flat 9. Sharp 9, and then E7. I'm kind of working that into like a chord solo. There's a little position shift there too, by the way. I'm in 7th position. And then 5th position. Again, a little finger slide, decorative, grace note. And this is cool. I'm using that E Superlocrian mode. I'm using that in the second half of the run because I'm actually hitting the B natural. That's the natural 5th. That's actually not in the Superlocrian mode, but that would be in over E7, E Phrygian dominant. That's like the classical, the flamenco sound, the Yngwie Malmsteen shred sound. Then I go to the Superlocrian. Okay, notice I did a little position shift there. Via an index finger slide. I'm also thinking like an E augmented sound. That lives in Superlocrian. This is kind of cool. Over the A minor chord, 7. I could do that, right? That would sound fine. But instead I took I'm thinking like a baritone sax, a real breathy, smoky, Kind of like the inspiration for that was Dick Parry, the guy that played on Pink Floyd, Us and Them and Shining You Crazy Diamond. I can't remember which part, but you know, the real low register. And that's kind of neat to hit the 9th of A minor. And then the major 7th, and that's such a low register, it creates kind of a dissonance, but as long as the chords are played on a different instrument, it's going to actually have some clarity. And then I finally acknowledge the A root note, the A minor root note. So coming out of that. You hear how I did a little, I'm taking sax. And those vibratos, by the way, they have to be pull down vibratos, because if you were to push up, you would fall off the end of the fretboard. So I start out with walking up the A minor scale. Okay, so it would be A natural minor. Okay, then from here I'm using A superlocrian, also known as A diminished whole tone scale, which is that's actually B flat melodic minor played over A, or the 7th mode of B flat melodic minor. So I segue from, this is when it goes from A minor to A7. That's when I switch to that. You know, that gives you that kind of A7, that tension sound with the sharp 5, flat 9, or the sharp 9. You know, that really, really begs to go back to D minor 7. So that last run. Okay, and then I kind of displace my finger there because I want to get the pinky to go slide up to that note. And that's the beginning of part 2. That's, you know, starting on D minor 7. You can hear I'm going, and a little taste of what's to come. Hit the major 7, but I'll cover that next time.